Okay. So I'm going to mute you all, but you can unmute if you have questions or comments. Yeah, so I in today's email I was mentioning there are things that a teacher has gave me that sort of stick in my head, so I'll try to translate them and give them to you, because it's not like I mean, you may have noticed, those of you who have been here a while, like I don't spend a lot of time in this realm, looking at you and telling you to turn your toe this way or that way, and I don't get real particular about what you're doing, although I appreciate seeing you. I'm glad that most of you are on video. I can see you, and and my cues can be general, but sometimes I have someone in mind who I want to see make the change, just FYI. Just to give you a different experience of the shape, and yoga is giving you a sense of awareness and a sense of proprioception of where your body is in space, and then interoception, like what does it feel like inside? What is your body feeling inside? So I've had many students over the years like this say, what, well, even this happened to me in my class on Wednesday last week. This guy came and he had a shoulder injury. He says, it really hurts when I do this. And I said, when I go this far, I go, okay, so then don't go that far in class, because he was like, what should I not do in class? Like, don't do that. So don't do anything that hurts. So yoga shouldn't hurt. And I don't mean to be really pat, but it's about knowing yourself, knowing your capabilities, your abilities, because there's a lot of things going on with everybody. Everybody has different biologies of what's going on there, different biographies. I always talk about, the merger of your biography and your biology, and you're in charge of that. And I'm guiding you through these practices and trying to give you tools so that you can figure out, is the alignment feeling really sturdy for yourself? Is it feeling strong for yourself? Are you building strength? So these three things that the teacher gave me was like, when you enter into a pose, think of the base of support. You're on your feet, or we're on our knees or hands or arms. Like, does that base of support feel stable? My Fit Feet course, the online course that you can take anytime, that kind of covers a lot about what's going on with our feet in different poses. And also, where's the breath? The base of support can come from the breath. So if we're physically in a place, but our breath is really shallow, that means our mind is kind of not focused. So are we using that ujjayi breath? And the ujjayi breath, that sound through the back of the throat, that like whispering sound, is like when you have the garden hose and you're just letting the garden hose drop the water out. But if you put your thumb over the edge of the garden hose, then you can direct the water. The ujjayi breath is that supportive breath to direct yourself through the movement. So there's base of support. And then center of gravity. Where's our center of gravity? Everyone has different proportions in their bodies. And so if you hold your waist, if you put your hands around your waist for a moment and you have a sense of the three-dimensionality of your torso, and right in the center of that waist area, right in front of the sacrum, is considered our center of gravity. So some of us have shorter waists or longer legs, or longer torsos and shorter legs. And so our center of gravity is different. And so the spacing of your legs in different poses, the use of muscles to hold yourself up, different things are going to come into play based on your center of gravity. And again, is the base of support structured so that your center of gravity is feeling supported and what do I want to say? Safe. I guess the word is safe. Like, do you feel safe in this? Because once you're safe in that's when we can get into that rest and digest, that parasympathetic nervous system. And then once we're in the pose, and then maybe there's a range of motion. The range of motion comes from the soft tissues in our joints. It could be in their shoulders and our hips, our elbows, our wrists, our fingers, all the joints in our body, the spine. Once we're in the shape, the base of support is there, and then we're feeling stable. Can we work with the soft tissues to get a little bit? That's where maybe more of the flexibility comes, or maybe of the ability to breathe a little more deeper. So those kinds of three things, we'll talk about that as we go through the practice a bit more. All right. Yeah. I think that's all I wanted to start with. Okay, so why don't we start in a seated position today? Because the base of support can vary depending on what you're doing. So finding your seated position, maybe you sit up on a blanket or block, or if you want to sit on a chair, you're welcome to sit on a chair as well. And or maybe on your knees, you can be on your shins and sit on top of the blocks. So this is the thing where the base of support is going to have something to do with the range of motion that you have in your joints, right? So if cross-legged position doesn't work right, or on your knees or shins doesn't work right for your range of motion in your joints, you choose a different position. And you should always feel open to making the pose work for you, not you making yourself work into the pose, but some semblance of it will work for you. Nice, Kathleen, like that on your shins. Great, and then feeling that is comfortable. So find that center of gravity at the base of your pelvis, or the right in front of the sacrum rather. Does it feel like you can stay upright? Now, if you're feeling like you're rounding back in this, maybe you need to sit up on something and have your hips a little higher than your hips, so that again, like if you're sitting up like this, the tendency is going to be to go back. So if you sit up a little higher, the knees are down lower and you can be a little more stable. Right. Nice. So then make those adjustments. Yeah. And then find your spine, find the lower belly drawing in up, so in and up, so that the base of the spine is grounded. Find the rest of the spine kind of migrating forward, so that you start to feel the length of the spine. The sternum slightly lifts forward, and feel a slight back bend or arch in the upper back. So you feel the collarbones go broad, that regal spine. The arms can be wherever they feel most comfortable. So maybe they're on your thighs, palms up or palms down. Maybe they're in your hand, in your lap. You choose wherever your hands feel most comfortable, your arms feel comfortable, so that the collarbones, the shoulders can kind of release down. Sometimes when we're feeling unstable or the range of motion is somehow restricted, that we hold ourselves up by our shoulders, essentially. So they're like hiking up to our ears. We want to sort of soften those ears as best we can once we get that base of support, center of gravity all settled. Nice. Balancing the ears over the shoulders, and turn your gaze down your nose for a moment and just notice your breath. Coming in and out of your nostril, you're exchanging with the airflow through the nostrils into the back of the throat, into the lungs, and back and forth. Going back and forth with your breath cycles. These components of the practice, this base of support, center of gravity, range of motion, all translate to being more aware of your body and space, more connected to what's going on inside, so you can respond to the world instead of reacting to the world around you. Keeps us from perhaps being unstable in the world, potentially falling, and just overall being a sense of well-being that's going to translate into homeostasis in the body, so the body can, heal in all different levels, including in the bones. Next inhale, you can raise your gaze up, be aware of your place in the room. And then let's take the left hand out to the side and then reach the right arm up in an angle. And if the shoulder, the range of motion isn't really feeling comfortable about that, do what you need to do just to feel through the right pinky finger, leaning out as far as works for you, keeping both sides long, and start to feel for the tissues lengthening, muscles, finding the stability through the skeletal system, breathing here. And then taking that right arm over to the side and dropping your left ear towards the left shoulder. So you're tractioning the neck space. So the hand stays out a little ways like it's ballast off to the side, and dropping the left ear over the shoulder. Filling the lungs fully under the collarbones, emptying the lungs fully, finding deeper and deeper breaths. And then exhaling, dropping the chin slightly as you lean over to the right side, finding that position with your left hand as the right arm comes up. Lengthen through the elbow and the armpit. Keep rooted through the sit bone. So sometimes when we lean over, in this case, the left sit bone might come up lightly off the floor. Maybe we keep rooted through that left sit bone as you keep the weight further above the center of gravity, leaning over. And then keeping that right hand there, left hand comes over and dangles, dropping your right ear closer to the shoulder and tractioning the neck space. As you breathe deeper and deeper. And then exhaling, dropping the chin slightly forward, bringing your spine back to a neutral, and pausing here with your head over your shoulders and notice sensation. Next inhale, reach the hands out and up, bring the hands overhead, press the palms and gazing up and touch. Exhale, reach the hands out and down, touching down at the bottom of the exhale, and pause. And go ahead and do that at your own pace. You move with the breath, keeping that lower belly drawn in and up. So then the rib cage is responding to the rising and falling of the diaphragm. Stretching those muscles in between the ribs and finding that steady breath, the steady flow, the steady rhythm. The pause at the top of the inhale and the pause at the bottom of the exhale. And then just noticing the range of motion you have through the shoulders. Something slow and steady like this sometimes releases tension. Our joints need to move to stay supple. Complete the one you're on and do one more after that. And when you completed that last one, just pause and notice sensation. Nice. And now with your spine nice and long, we'll turn towards the left, using one of the knees to leverage your right hand. Your left hand is you're keeping your spine long. So the fingertips or hand or something is behind you, turning belly, then heart, then chin, and gazing over your left shoulder. Every inhale, you're lengthening the spine and expanding the rib cage, and every exhale, the spine feels rooted through the sit bones and rising up through the crown of the head. So you retain that length in the spine. And keeping the hands where they are. Next inhale, just turn your gaze over your right shoulder. Collarbones stay broad. Just twisting the cervical spine. Everything is vertical. Expanding out through the inhales and lengthening on the exhales. And then inhaling, releasing that twist and pausing for a moment with your spine neutral. Let's switch to the other side. So right hand comes behind you, choose a knee. Depending on the knee choice, depends on how does it feel in your collarbones when you take the twist. One hand on one knee or the other. And then gazing gently over your right shoulder. Nice vertical twist. Keep rooted through that base of support, through the legs, the sit bones. Feel the twist through the belly, into the rib cage, up into the neck and the jaw. And then keeping the hands where they are. Next inhale looks over your left shoulder. Keep the spine long, the breath deep. And then inhaling, releasing that twist and pausing for a moment with your spine neutral. And now let's interlace the fingers, press the palms away and bring the hands up as far as works for you. Maybe they come up overhead, maybe they're slightly forward. Trying to straighten the elbows as best you can, but keeping the shoulders kind of loose and soft down below your ears. Lifting up through the belly and then maybe leaning over to the left side. So keep the base of support rooted through that right sit bone. As you shift the weight over to the side, you're changing the center of gravity, the sort of the balance, basically. Feeling for the range of motion in your wrists and your fingers. And then inhale, coming back up to center, and exhale, lean over gently to the right side. Keep rooted through the left sit bone. Press through the palms. Breathing here. And then inhale, coming back up to center. And exhale, release your hands behind you, interlace the fingers, draw the knuckles down, lift the chest. And then maybe drop the chin or lift the chin, whatever feels right for you. Lifting the hands away from the spine, find a little bit more space under the armpits. Feeling for the muscles that are connecting from the jaw to the shoulders. Filling the lungs fully and expanding the rib cage under the armpits. Exhaling fully so the rib cage recedes from the armpits. And then inhale, looking up, bringing your torso back to neutral rather, and then exhale, releasing the hands. Nice. And then coming off of our sit bones as the base of support, we're going to change it to our hands and knees. So you're going to bring your knees under your hips and your palms underneath your shoulders. If you need extra support under your knees, go ahead and place a blanket under there, a little cushioning. And then looking down at your hands. So if you put your fingertips together, fingers together, like you were going to be putting your fingers in mittens and your thumbs came up close to your fingers. So your fingers are very close together, and just feel what that feels like as you press down into the palms and the fingers are together. Kind of concentrates the sensation. Now, if you spread your fingers wide and open up the webbing between each of the fingers, and the thumb goes way away from the first finger, so you're spreading it out wide. See how it sort of dissipates that sensation, giving more surface area to that base of support through the palm. So anytime our hands are on the ground, generally we want the fingers spread wide, so that base of support is really diffused and open and widespread. The toes and themselves are also back there spreading as best they can, feeling for the knees. And then let's just move the tailbone a little bit. So as you inhale, the tailbone goes up, belly drops. Maybe you gaze to the sky or keep the chest neutral. And exhale, tailbone goes down, lift the belly to the spine. The upper spine around your rib cage is going to stay fairly neutral. And you're moving more of the neck and the hips, finding that range of motion through the spinal column without compromising that upper thoracic spine that can be a little vulnerable if our bone density is low. Want to avoid kind of compressing the upper front of the upper vertebra. But we want to keep mobility in our spine. So pelvic tilts in the tailbone, range of motion in the neck, exploring these movements with the breath. The inhales are expansive and lifting, and the exhales are grounding and contracting. And completing your breath cycle and coming back to a neutral position with the spine. And let's take that left foot back behind you. Press into the ball of the foot. Now with the palms down, flat down is too much on the wrists. Just to give you another option, see some people might be having issues with their wrists. You could bring your hands into more of a fist and you're on the upper knuckles. So that might relieve some wrist issues if you want to respond like that. The thumbs are out and forward. So you have your thumbs forward, a little bit more base of support. So maybe that will relieve some wrist issues. You can try that. So you're reaching through the calf, ball of the foot is on the floor through the left leg. Then keeping that left hand down, bring your right hand forward and the palm faces the center so the shoulder rolls away from the ear. Lift the belly to the spine and push the left foot off the floor to hip height. Find that base of support before we move at all. We're lifting up through the belly. So finding the center of gravity. Now you have one arm forward, one leg backwards. The leg is heavier than the arm. So you shift forward a little bit so that the left shoulder is over the wrist. Nice. Cantilevered long. Finding that balance. Breathing deeply. Strengthening. Take a big inhale here. And then exhale, just bring the right hand down to the floor. Take your left foot over to the right side off of the mat and turn towards your left as you reach the left hand to the ceiling. Inhaling wide through the collarbones. And then exhale, reach that left hand towards the front of the mat. So you're long through the left side of your body, through the left fingers. So the left foot is on the floor, so you find that base of support. So your right hand, right knee, and left foot are on the floor, or left toes, basically. Rolling up, lengthening, breathing. The left foot is behind the right knee, or on a different line. Nice. And then inhale, reach that left hand to the ceiling, and exhale, turn back towards the mat, the hands and knees. Nice. And then switching over to the other side. So right foot steps back, press into the ball of the foot, reaching through the calf, lengthening through the leg. Keep the right hand there. Left hand comes forward, palm facing center. Lift the belly to the spine to secure that center of gravity and push the right foot off the floor to hip height. Now you could be reaching through the heel, you could be reaching through the toes. I kind of do a little bit of both, of pointing, so it's flexing and pointing. Reaching like a Barbie doll foot pose with your foot through the ball of the foot, spreading the toes. So the leg is active all the way to the toes. The arm is active all the way to the fingers. And you could keep that hand spreading wide. The left hand, even though it's not on the ground, you could still spread the fingers, or you could reach them together, whichever feels like you're more active through your fingers on your left hand. Breathing. Take one more inhale here, And then exhale, the left hand comes down below the shoulder. Remember to spread the fingers or on their knuckles, turn over towards the right as your right foot comes over to the left. Reach up through the right fingertips. And then exhale, reach the right hand towards the front of the mat. So the left hand and left knee are more or less in the same line. The right foot is beyond that, so it's balanced base of support. The left leg keeps, or right leg reaches down, and you're reaching through the right fingertips. And inhaling, reaching the right hand to the ceiling. Exhale, turn back towards the mat, hands and knees. Nice. And then let's take ourselves into a plank. So you're going to tuck your toes and you can straighten your legs, either one leg at a time, reaching through the one leg, long spine, long arms, long legs, or take both legs back. And notice what it feels like if the chest comes a little bit further forward. So the chest is sort of between the thumbs, or over the thumbs rather. Lifting up through the belly, reaching through the legs, breathing. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, bend both knees, lower the belly, come all the way flat down onto the floor. Chin is neutral, keeping the hands flat on the floor, but slide them back a bit so they're right next to your rib cage, elbows are drawing back. And then inhale, lifting the nape of the neck, keep the toes on the floor. Press into the palms and lift your chest up as far as you can go as you feel length through the back body. And trying to retain that height of your chest. The lower ribs are probably on the floor. So we're not lifting the belly off the floor. We're just kind of bringing the thoracic spine off the floor. And then maybe the hands get lighter as you use more of the back body to keep yourself up. Strengthening, breathing here. The base of support is your belly, your legs. Find the range of motion in your spine, your shoulders, your breath. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, slowly lower the chin, straighten the hands, or the arms rather, straighten the arms so your palms are facing up alongside your body. Arms are alongside your body, palms are up. And then next inhale, we're going to lift the soles of the feet off the floor, lift the nape of the neck off the floor. The back of the hands could stay on the floor to be part of the base of support, or you can lift the hands off of the floor. Palms are lifting up. Just using the whole back body to lift yourself up. The back of the arms, the palms themselves, breathing here. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, slowly lower down. And now let's widen the base of support. So the legs are going to come out wide, like about as wide as your mat. The arms are going to come out wide from your shoulders, and then bending your elbows like to a 90 degrees. Your arms are in cactus arms, palms facing down, and you can spread the fingers like we did before. So arms are in cactus arms, legs are as wide as your mat. It's a wide base of support. And then inhale, lift the soles of the feet off the floor, lift the arms, the nape of the neck, bring yourself off the floor. Breathing here. Use the back body to rise and breathe into the front body. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, slowly lower the body down. And bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Bring your legs closer together. Bring yourself back up through hands and knees, and widening the knees. Widen the knees about as wide as your mat, and then sink back to puppy or baby, or child's pose rather. Long spine comes forward. Maybe the head rests down, releasing and stretching the back body. So the wider the knees, the more the chest can come forward generally, depending again on range of motion that's happening in your knees, your ankles, your hips, making any adjustments in your child's pose. And then drawing yourself up, your hands and knees again. Bring your knees back underneath your hips. And let's step the right foot forward. Tuck the back toes. Bring your hand to your right knee. Step forward and coming up to a standing position into a chair pose. So immediately as you come forward, the legs and toes and everything comes to center. Sink back. Keep that sort of hinge in the hips. Reach through the tailbone forward with the hands forward, holding an imaginary block or pressing the palms. Finding that balance through the toes and the heels of the legs. The tailbone is heavy, the lifting up to the lower front body, the lower belly. And then next inhale, you'll straighten your legs, reach to the ceiling. And exhale, hands come back down by your side for your mountain pose. Nice. And then feel for that mountain pose. Feel for each foot individually pressing down and away, spreading the toes. That base of support becomes the feet. We're familiar with this, but maybe patterns over time have shifted this for us. Things happening. Feel what it feels like if you shift your weight over to your right foot and just bend your left knee forward without doing anything for tree pose or anything. Can you feel the stacking of the joint spaces in your right leg? Feel if you're hinging out through into the hip, can you sort of hike that hip back into and over the knee? And then slowly release that left knee or left heel down and bend the right knee forward, just taking more of the weight over onto your left foot. And sort of sensing from the foot into the ankle, into the knee, front side and back side, right side and left side, taking all the weight into that leg. The toes are still on the floor. Nice, and then shift back over to your right leg and we'll take it into a full balanced position. The hands can come to the waist. And the reason I like to have the hands involved, first of all, you need full body connection, but also if the hands are at the waist, it kind of gives a sense of that's your center of gravity. So from this pelvis, we're trying to shift the weight over to the right leg. And then we externally rotate out to the side. So suddenly our sense of gravity and balance has shifted with the knee coming out. Connect that foot into the upper ankle or into the calf or into the upper thigh, coming into our tree pose. You can keep it down low, lift the toes, bring the foot into the calf, pressing into the calf, or bringing it all the way into the inner thigh. And you can notice right here, the range of motion in the hip. Maybe the knee, if you're here, maybe the knee's forward, maybe it's out further, maybe it's almost in line with the leg. It just depends. But somehow you're connecting. And then once you feel that base of support rooted, maybe you change the center of gravity by changing the hand position. It changes the height of everything that's above your sacrum, or the width of everything that's above your sacrum. So you can choose a different hand position that's changing your center of gravity. And it really depends on the range of motion that you have in your joints. So press down to rise up, find your breath. Take one more inhale here. Exhale, reversing course first by bringing your hands back to that center of gravity. And then inhale, bringing the knee forward. And exhale, root that back down to the floor for your mountain pose. Nice. And just pause for a moment. Let the body nail that into muscle memory, right? And then shift your weight slowly over to the left leg, bending the knee forward and out. So we're methodically changing the center of gravity as we change the base of support over to that one leg. Maybe lifting the toes off the floor, maybe bringing the foot all the way off the floor, as high as your range of motion will allow. Once you feel rooted to the base of support of that leg, maybe changing the center of gravity with the hands in a different position. Move down to rise up. Breathing here. The whole body is reacting, responding. Find the steady gaze and the steady breath. And then the steady body. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, bring the hands back to the center of gravity. Inhale, bringing the knee forward, and exhale, rooting back down to your mountain pose. Nice. Okay, let's separate the feet out as wide as we can go. All the way out, maybe under the wrists. And I'll mirror you, and you can turn your right toes toward the right and the left toe slightly in. So you still have the feet down in the ground, and so you're still finding that base of support balance. And then bending into that right knee, so shifting the center of gravity over. And keeping rooted through that back foot. So if we put all the weight into that front foot, which we will in a minute in our side angle pose, we keep rooted through that back foot, and then bring the arms up for keeping the torso involved. And then rolling the palms up so the shoulders roll back. And then keeping the shoulders rolled back as we just flip the palms back down. And then turning our gaze over the right fingertips. It's like adding this and that and the other thing to the recipe of the pose. Little accoutrements, little dashes of this and that. Finding your breath. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, shift the weight over your right hip and bring your left hand down, or your right hand down, sorry, the right hand down or forearm down. And then that left hand could come to the waist, or it could slide up and reach at the same angle as your back leg. So your left leg is pressing down, rolling the right ribs up, or sorry, your left ribs up, my right ribs. So the chest stays toward the side. The shoulder doesn't like that hand, it could go straight up if you'd like that, or hand down to the waist. Breathing here. Notice what's happening in the neck and the shoulders. Can you turn your gaze to a position where your neck feels more supported? And then exhale completely here. And then on your next inhale, you bring your torso up. Inhales are rising, straightening that right leg, turn the toes toward the side, hands to the waist to root through the center of your body, and pausing there for a moment, noticing right side and left side, front side and back side, and then turning to the other side. So left toes toward the left, right toe slightly in. Make any adjustments in the distance. In general, that front foot wants to be parallel to the sides of the mat as sort of a marker so that the hip is rotating out as much as you can. Maybe that means the pelvis might need to adjust. And then the pelvis adjusts, maybe you need to make a different angle with the back foot. So find that base of support that works for your joints so everything feels grounded as you bend into the left knee. Nice, keeping the chest facing the side and the arms reach out from the shoulders. Rolling the shoulders back, flipping the palms, keeping the shoulders open as you just turn the wrists back down. Nice. And then turn your gaze over your left fingertips. Building the pose from the bottom to the top when you're doing these standing poses. Piece of support. The center of gravity is balanced between both legs. And you've noted the range of motion that you have available in the joints of your hips, your ankles, even in your neck. Breathing here. Take one more inhale here. Exhale, hinging over that left hip. The left hand comes down or left forearm comes down. Then choose what to do with your right hand. Maybe the right hand comes to the waist. Maybe it swings at an angle. Maybe it reaches up to the sky. You choose. Rolling the right ribs up. The face is the chest faces the side. Push back through that right heel. Lifting up through the right inner ankle. So both feet stay planted on the floor. Nice. Breathing here. Hugging the muscles to the bones. To direct those forces through your body. And then pushing through the feet. Inhale, coming up, arms go wide, straightening that left leg, turn the toes toward the side, hands to the waist, and pausing here. Nice. And then heel toe the feet a little closer together. And to turn the feet out to the sides. And your inhale, swing the arms out and up. And exhale, bend the knees over the toes, cross the arms, push through the feet, inhaling up. Exhale down, heavy tailbone, inhaling up. Exhale down. One more time up. And exhale down to your squat, wherever that might be. Hands on thighs or forearms on thighs, elbows and knees. Get that base of support, the distance of the feet to be supportive of everything above it. The knees, the hips, the spine. Feel balance through the toes and the heels. Breathing here. Take one more inhale here. And then exhale, slowly make your way down to the floor. And extend your legs out in front. Nice. Okay, so from the legs straightening out in front, we're going to take a gentle twist here. So your left hand will come behind you to keep you upright. So if you're leaning back to put your hand there, see if you can find a block to keep it upright. And then just take your right hand over to your left knee as you reach through your heels. Keep the spine long, turning belly, heart, and chin. So a little bit different sensation with the legs straight than when we were in our other seated position. If your legs are straight in front of you, you don't bend, you reach through the heels and draw your toes back. So the feet are flexed like you're standing on them. Active legs. And then inhale, looking forward first. Exhale, taking your right hand over to the other side, left hand across, keeping the spine long as you turn the gaze over your left shoulder, or your right shoulder, sorry. And these twists are important to keep some kind of range of motion in our spines, very functional movement. We need the ability to be aware of our space around us. And then inhale, looking forward first. Exhale, untwisting the spine. And then let's lie down onto our side and back onto our back. So make your way down to the floor onto your back. Gently down there, keeping the spine long. And once you get down there, let's straighten the legs out long, reaching through the heels as if you're standing. So it's like you're, and if you make any adjustments to the shoulder blades so they're flat on the floor, and your hips so your spine is neutral, and the arms can come down alongside you so the pinkies are on the floor and the palms are facing your hips. So it's like you've backed yourself up against a wall. And then just feel for the base of support here. It sort of gives you a sense of your posture. Feel the head on the floor and feel maybe the upper spine or the shoulders perhaps. Feel what's touching the floor. So if we were to stand really tall in our mountain pose, this is what is connected to that back line. You know, there's soft tissue, and there's spaces where there's natural curves in the body. Reach it all the way down to the heels. And then bending your knees, place your feet onto the floor as wide as your mat. Separating the feet out wide. Bring your arms out a little wider. We'll come to our windshield wipers, coming to that rhythmic movement. As you rock your knees over to the left, you gaze to the right side. Inhale, bringing the knees up, the gaze up, and then exhale, knees over to the right, gaze over to the left, or just moving back and forth at your own pace, your own breath cycle. And you're rocking on the sensation of what's on the floor beneath you. So your back of your skull, the shoulder blades. Having the feet on the floor gives you a sense of rocking on the bottoms of the heels, and the knees don't have to come all the way over. So if you have restriction in your lower spine, you can just move the knees gently side to side rather than moving the whole lower part of your body. With the feet on the floor, just shifting the knees gently side to side is going to give you that rocking motion through the pelvis. So the feet flat and wide as the mat. And just rock side to side slowly. Yeah. And the next time you end up with your knees over to the left, just pause there with your knees to the left. You can turn your gaze to the ceiling and push through the right heel and maybe take that left ankle on top of the right thigh. Keep the breath flowing, that ujjayi sound in the breath. Just keeps the nervous system in that calm mode, receptive mode. And if your left ankle's on top of your thigh, I'll release that down to the floor. Inhale, bringing both knees up. Exhale, let the knees come over to the right and push a little bit through that left heel. Maybe take the right ankle on top of the left thigh. That's completely optional. Again, you're noticing the sensations in your body, figuring out what the sense of support is and the range of motion that you're allowed through your joints. And if the right ankle on top of your thigh, you'll remove that down to the floor. Inhale, bringing both knees up. And then exhale, straighten both legs out wide, wider than your mat. Arms are out wide. Finding that that 5-pointed star. And releasing the full weight of your body into the surface beneath you. Being aware of the space all around you. Even the spaces beneath you that aren't in contact with the floor. And if this feels like the right position for your Shavasana, you're welcome to stay right here. Otherwise, get anything you need to be comfortable, warm, and supported for your final resting position. And releasing all the efforts in your body. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Release your jaw, release your neck. Release down through your shoulders, through each of your elbows, your wrists, and all your fingers. Let your breath float away as you release down your spine, through your hips, through each of your knees, your ankles, and all your toes. Just take these last few moments of class in stillness, observing all the benefits of today's practice. And begin to deepen your breath. And spread your fingers and toes. And draw your legs together, arms overhead for a nice long stretch. And then bending one knee at a time, rolling over to one side and pausing there for a moment. Using your hands and your arms, gently make your way up to a seated position. Thank you so much for sharing your practice, your energy, and your breath. May your hearts be filled with loving kindness. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be healthy and well nourished. And may you be happy. Namaste. Thanks for coming. Have a great week. I'm happy to stay on. I can unspotlight me and turn off the